Welcome to this week's Total Football Podcast. I'm Declan Hart and I'm joined by Andrew Conway.
Hello.
And Matthijs O'Flaherty.
Hello.
This week it's a Premier League preview and a review of VAR. Fun fact, if Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang does sign for Arsenal, he will have the longest name in the history of Arsenal players. At 24 characters, he edges out Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain at 22 characters. In fact, a front three of Henrik Mkhitaryan, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexandre Lacazette contains the most letters of any forward line in Premier League history. What a time to be alive.
It's great.
Fantastic.
It makes life worth living.
Oh, it's one of the few pleasures of football, just trying to see and say all these long names on the jerseys.
Just
I have a very important question though. Are we counting that little stripe, between Pierre and Emerick as another character? Is that a separate character?
I don't think it's counted as a separate character, but if we had to, for the record's sake, we would have to count it.
Right.
But speaking of transfers, as we said, the Aubameyang one looks to be finalised.
Yeah, it's expected to, with add-on €70 million.
Yeah.
That is what it's being quoted. It could be more, it could be less. We don't know at the moment, but it's expected to go through. They wanted to get it through before tomorrow. Arsenal play Swansea away tomorrow. I'm probably not going to play.
No, I think you need to be registered by now.
Yeah, so that hasn't happened at this point. So he'll probably be there for the weekend.
Yeah, and then they have Giroud.
Drew might be going to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Or West Ham.
There's a little triangle coming up apparently. Giroud to Chelsea, Batshuayi to Dortmund and Aubameyang to Arsenal.
Yeah.
And two of them are loans as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at it from Chelsea's point of view, I don't see why they do it. You know, you're helping strengthen a rival.
It's confusing.
Apparently, Dortmund wouldn't let Aubameyang go until they had a replacement lined up. So if Chelsea are providing it, I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't quite get that one either. It's just like, I suppose it'd be good for Giroud because maybe he'll play a bit more. Because I feel like
he's not going to play anymore at Chelsea than he's playing at Arsenal.
He'll get to stay in London though, I guess.
That's the main. That's the main driving point.
As far as Giroud's concerned, I don't see why there's. It's a fairly good deal for him. He gets to go 6 months to a new club. He'll get the
wages.
same. Keep his wages, get the same amount of playing time. Really, maybe. Chelsea have a better chance at one of the trophies,
Probably.
FA Cup.
They're in the Champions League, he's not cup tied.
Yeah,
I mean, he might have a chance to win things. As far as Giroud's concerned, it's a fairly good deal. Just don't see why Chelsea would go for it.
Yeah, and like Batshuayi has been playing kind of well in his last few games. And
he got them through the FA Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Against Newcastle at the weekend.
Conte just does not trust him at all, it seems.
Doesn't like him.
No, he's looked a decent player when he does play. He's not.
Conte didn't sign him though.
He didn't. No, Conte didn't sign him, and that's absolutely true. Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he hasn't looked dreadful when he's played. He's not one of these massive flops.
No, but he's reminiscent of Loic Remy. Loic Remy never really did anything wrong when he played for Chelsea, but he never really got a chance. And Batshuayi is the same.
But Loic Remy was a 30-year-old when he signed for Chelsea. 31-year-old. Batshuayi is only 23, I think.
Yeah, he's kids.
It's too early to be writing him off yet, and I don't see why Conte's so unhappy with him as the backup.
It's just by the fact that the virtue that Dortmund are a pretty big club that were in the Champions League. They are after Batshuayi, who's a second choice striker at Chelsea. It shows that a club with ambition like Dortmund want him, that he must be a good player. I think he's regressed at Chelsea. He's not been given any opportunities. He came as a hot prospect that was, maybe not immediately go into the starting lineup, certainly be there by this point. Yeah. And it hasn't worked out for him. So if I were him, I'd try to get away because it isn't working out with him. The coach doesn't trust him, even though he does score goals when he's called upon to.
And I'm sure he'll want to go to the World Cup, even if he's not really in line in that Belgium squad.
Yeah.
No, I'd fully agree. For him, it makes sense to get out, get a bit of playing time.
Chelsea, I know what you're saying, that they're helping Arsenal, but Arsenal and Chelsea aren't really.
No.
Neither team are competing for the league.
Czech went to Arsenal pretty smoothly a few years ago. It seems like relations there are pretty good.
Czech was a little different. Chelsea do have a big policy of letting players who have been important to them in the past go out. That's why Matthijs' transfer was so easy.
Yeah.
And Czech, he's a legend for the club. There was, he was given a carte blanche. He was allowed to go wherever he liked. And Arsenal was the choice choice because it's stayed in London.
There's also there has to be good relationships between them, because you often see on Cesc Fabregas' social media feed, he's hanging out with all the Arsenal players he used to know and still supports the club, and he's a Chelsea player. And there's, things like that in there. Like, they obviously know each other and are friendly with each other, that it's not the worst thing in the world for one to be at a different club when they're so near to each other. That happens. A lot of fans don't like it because it doesn't show like they're not loyal to their club, but that's the reality of it. And of all the animosity that exists between different clubs, it doesn't exist for some reason between Arsenal and Chelsea. The players certainly, and at the business side of things, they're both willing to do business with each other.
But then Edin Dzeko at Chelsea, which looked almost done last week, seems to be off now. I'm not entirely sure why. I haven't really kept up with the reports of either of you.
The big issue seems to be the length of the contract, that and playing time concerns. So Chelsea have had a policy where they don't give more than a 1-year extension to any player who's over 30 years old. John Terry didn't get it, Frank Lampard didn't get it, Michael Ballack didn't get it, Didier Drogba didn't get it. Edin Dzeko wants 3 years. He's 32.
Yeah.
To sign him on that sort of a contract would be a fairly big statement by the Chelsea board, because it's going against the policy they've laid out and that they've kept in place, against those legends for the club.
Yeah, and I'm sure that would really annoy them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would annoy a lot of players in there. There's not really too many of that old guard left anymore. But I think David Luiz is coming up to 30 years old.
Also for sale.
For sale, yeah. There's actually, I'm struggling to think of any prominent Chelsea players who are over 30.
How old is Cesar Azpilicueta?
27, 28. Fabregas is probably one.
Probably thereabouts.
Yeah.
There isn't many, like Danny Drinkwater is probably coming up near
Danny Drinkwater, I think, is 28.
They're not really the old age pensioners that we used to always kind of.
No, they're trying to. Conte's tried to rebuild that squad and get rid of a lot of dead wood.
But at the same time, that is an established thing that Chelsea do, and Edin Dzeko wants a 3-year contract, I think 2.5 year now. But he wants that. He wants 90 grand a week, and he wants a guarantee of a certain amount of playing time. All of which, I mean, the money doesn't really. It's not out of Chelsea's ballpark at all for a second choice striker.
Yeah.
At the same time, the playing time and that contract might be a little harder to agree with, and that's what's holding it up so far.
And they've signed Emerson as well, or it looks like that is going to be confirmed.
Originally those deals were joint, but now they've been separated, so Emerson has come for what was the
figure? It was
70 million, I think?
It was 45 for the two of them.
Yeah.
And I think Dzeko was between 10 and 15 because of his age, and his contract was relatively short with Roma.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So I think Emerson was the big chunk of the transfer money.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But that is a good signing for Chelsea. He's played well for Roma. He's an attacking fullback in the way.
He's been a bit injured this season, though, from what I've heard. So.
He did his ACL. He was out for 9 months.
Yeah. And he's back up for Alonso. So.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea have needed a left back for a long time. If Alonso didn't play there, they were left with,
playing a player out of position.
Basically, Azpilicueta, yeah. I mean, they were in trouble. They've needed a left back. They were looking at Alexandro last summer. And
I think they tried to get him.
They did.
Juventus wouldn't let him go.
Yeah. But apparently Juventus are more keen on allowing him to go this summer. PSG have been linked. Chelsea seem to have kind of accepted that they're not going to sign him. Which, for a Chelsea fan, has to be a little concerning. You're as good as Emerson looks. He's a good prospect. He's still young. He absolutely can be a great player one day. Alexandro's already there. That's the difference.
Played Champions League finals. He knows what to do.
That's the difference between signing a world-class player and a world-class talent.
Yeah.
It's
but
the
that
difference.
Seems to be more what Chelsea are going for.
That's what they are going for.
But it hasn't worked out. We just talked about Michy Batshuayi.
Yeah.
They won the league title last season, though.
Yeah, but not thanks to Michy Batshuayi.
I don't know how much Roman cares, though.
Yeah. But if you look at the team that won the title, who were the big parts of that team? Diego Costa, world-class striker, bought when he was world-class. Eden Hazard, mightn't have been completely world class, but everybody knew he was getting there.
He helped Lille. Yeah. He carried Lille too.
He was clearly.
He was the best signing that summer.
Thibaut Courtois was a younger player who developed
Champions League final.
Yeah. Well, he was bought before he was loaned to Atletico,
true,
so
true.
there is a bit of credit due to Chelsea there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to have some of the top players brought in when they're top players. You can't develop everything.
Yeah, and
they're not done. We'll see what happens. Speaking of Chelsea outgoings and speaking of the Arsenal connection to it. There is rumours as well that David Luiz could go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And, same type of thing, you're helping a rival and so on and so forth. It'd be weird to see if a Drew, like Arsenal do love a swap deal. And a Drew Luiz swap loan deal to the end of the season could be on the cards.
Who do you reckon gets the better deal out of that then?
I think it's another one that they both do well from.
Yeah, like Luiz will probably play. It's who knows if he's a liability at the best of times.
Arsenal already.
Yeah, Arsenal can't really make Arsenal much worse. Drew does have a good goal to games ratio, but saying that, so does Eden Dzeko. Even though neither will be. You'd never have confidence in either player going to a Premier League side and leading the line week in, week out, but both do have good goals to minutes ratios.
Yeah, and I do appreciate what Chelsea are trying to do here. They're trying to get a different option, especially a more
someone
rotational
who isn't
option.
crazy like Morata apparently is.
Yeah, but also somebody with a bit more of a target man sort of build. And I understand wanting that plan B and that different sort of style, but at the same time, all of the choices seem a little uninspired. Eden Dzeko's probably the best of the lot.
Well, Andy Carroll was inspired.
Oh no, please. Peter Crouch was the most inspired.
Oh, okay.
But speaking of tall, big strikers, Zlatan Ibrahimovic seems like he's free to leave Manchester United.
Yeah, Mourinho spoke in a press conference on Monday and just was, if Zlatan wants to go, he can go. And he said Mourinho spoke as if he hadn't seen or heard of Zlatan in ages. He was talking as if he said I think the phrase was, the last time I spoke to him, he wanted to, play and win.
Yeah.
Like, I know Zlatan is injured, but it's as if he's already parted ways at Manchester United after the fanfare of when they brought him back. I don't know what's gone wrong in that relationship.
The whole thing of a lion, like comparing himself to a lion, is like, it feels like he came back too early, and then this is a career threatening injury when you consider how old he is.
Yeah.
And I think he just overestimated himself.
I mean, how many major injuries has he ever dealt with in his career?
No,
I don't think.
Yeah,
no, he hasn't had any.
That was certainly the biggest.
Yeah, exactly. So coming something that big, that late in your career, he might be an experienced player, but he's not experienced coming back from these injuries and dealing with them. So even Zlatan mightn't be able to completely get over that. So I think it is a bit odd that United went and renewed the contract over the summer while he was injured.
Well, it looks like he might be released from the contract, which is even like United. It was all for nothing. They won't even get a transfer fee from LA.
Yeah, it seems like just they threw a bit of money at Zlatan all for nothing. Then the last 6 months,
he could go. I think Zlatan will end up at LA Galaxy. I think that's been clear for a
America
while now.
Certainly.
Yeah, in America, he wants to go to the MLS. He wants to experience that. He wants to be the big shot in another country, in the biggest sporting market in the world. Even if MLS isn't that, so it's going to happen. Whether it happens now before. The Galaxy probably would prefer to have him in pre-season, get him fit, and for their season start there in a couple of months from now. But it'd be a weird thing for Man United. Like, they have signed Alexis. Is he taking up Zlatan's place in the squad? And does that fix everything?
I don't know. Is he taking his position in the squad? But I feel like Mourinho feels like it's a solution.
Yeah,
and I mean it is a bit of a solution. Zlatan, I honestly think he's still a bit too good to go to America. It's hard to tell. Will he still be that good when he comes back from the injury? But he wasn't bad by any means at United last year.
No. He carried the team.
He did. He did.
The top goal
scorer. I mean, he's still a top player. So I can see why they'd try to keep him on. I just don't see why they're getting ready to get rid of him before he's had a chance to come back and show he's still that top player.
I think they doubt whether he is still that top player, though.
Yeah, but then why re-sign him in the summer? Either go for it or don't. So don't.
I think they took the risk, and I don't think it's paid off.
Yeah, maybe that's the way it is. But it's just poor management, Manchester United, and why is that surprising?
Yeah,
that's very true. And then Laporte to City looks all but done.
He's bought out of his contract.
Yeah, they announced. Athletic Bilbao announced that today on Twitter. I think they said that the player has bought out his contract.
It's done. Basically, City will announce and unveil him in a ceremony, and I think that's a great signing for Manchester City. For some bizarre reason, Laporte, he's a very strange character. He's a Frenchman that plays for Bilbao, he's only the second French person ever to play for Bilbao. They've very close rules on who can play and where they're from, and he passed that test somehow.
They have to be Basque.
They do, yeah. So he passed that test somehow. I'm not really sure how.
Well, there are French areas in the Basque.
Yeah.
There's, I think, Gascony.
Yeah, so
pretty
he must
much,
be from that
a
area.
50 kilometre area on the south coast.
He was played and captained all the French underage teams up to under 21. and then he has failed to get into the French side. Like, he missed last Euro 2016 with a knee injury that kept him out of the tournament, and he's flirted with playing for Spain since, but he's declared for France since that he wants to play and still hasn't played a game for them. So it's a very strange decision for one of the most talented all-round defenders. He's got pace, he's got vision, he can pass the ball, he play in the ground. He is Pep's dream.
Yeah.
Pep was linked with him when he was at Barcelona when this guy was 17, 18 years old. And, you know, he didn't go then, but he was also linked to Bayern, and he was also, most recently, every club in Europe basically has been trying to sign Laporte for some time.
Yeah, I think he's a great signing, and he'll probably be a long-term replacement for Company at this point.
Yeah, I think he fits into that mould. He's a leader. You know, he's been captain at various youth levels, as we said. He is what they are looking for.
The only problem I'd see with that is you can look at that City team now and say John Stones and Aymeric Laporte, next 10 years, City's 2 starting centre-backs. How often does it work out like that? You know?
Seldom.
Very seldom.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. If everything goes right, this will be an inspired signing. I just, I don't see it all falling into place that neatly. I think somebody's going to get an injury.
I think for the next 6 months, though, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be as so sure in the short term. I think it is, like you're saying, it's more of a long-term... It's a long-term gamble, if you will, that the 2 players will be the 2 going forward. I think Laporte is going to struggle to adapt. We saw how rough a time Otamendi had when he joined, and he was one of the best defenders, considered one of the best defenders in Spain. It is a different game to defend in England than it is in Spain. Like there's a lot more. It's not that there's more physicality; it's the way they use physicality in England is a lot different to the way it's done in Spain. And I think he will struggle at first, and he'll need to be protected.
Yeah, and it depends on the type of defender too, because Eric Bailly didn't really have that much difficulty transferring.
No, he fit in after.
He fit in, but he's injured. He's injured all the time.
It hurt him.
He got injured on international duty, though.
No, but he was worn down because of the change in games. But also, Eric Bailly, we're talking about the type of defender.
Yeah,
he is a
complete Mourinho defender. He's the one.
But he's also a unit.
Yeah,
he is someone that you could kick, and he's not going to fall down. Laporte isn't built like that. Laporte is built in the Otamendi style of short, not that stocky, but more of a technical player than a really tall, lanky, hard as nails defender the way Eric Bailly is. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's what I was kind of trying to say. Yeah, that I think Laporte is going to have a harder time of it because of him. Also, the fact that he's had a couple of injuries now. Yeah, he had the one. Yeah, he did his ACL.
He's expected back till March, I think.
Yeah. You'd be worried about somebody like Laporte coming in, who's also had the injury or two. Yeah. Still young, I know, can put on, he can put on more muscle, whatever, but you've got to be careful bringing in a player like that who isn't used to it. He's got to be eased in. So I'd say, long term, it definitely could work out, and it's definitely a gamble worth taking. But at the same time, I just don't see it all going quite as well as you'd hope. Yeah.
Yep, true. We don't know what next season lead. Like I'm trying to think, what was the last great partnership in the Premier League for defenders? There's probably been one since, Wes Morgan and Robert Huth, probably.
Yeah, for that
goes without saying.
Do
that
they
one
count?
season. Yes, they do count. But you're probably like Vidic and Ferdinand. And, that it did have a rocky start at first, but by the time the second season rolled around, they were the best defensive partnership in the Premier League. So there is, and they were, maybe not quite John Stones and Laporte, but they're not a huge amount away from that. The way
I mean, I think what helped there is that Ferdinand was the more ball-playing, adventurous defender, and he was playing in England since he was, playing in the Premier League since he was 18.
But John Stones is that.
John Stones, yeah.
Ferdinand is a little further developed, but that's a completely different discussion.
It is double record signing for Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
But moving on to the Premier League, there's midweek fixtures this week, so we thought we might as well preview what's coming up. On Tuesday night, Swansea host Arsenal. Swansea got a big scalp last Monday. We weren't able to talk about it until now. Can they get one over on Arsenal as well?
So they managed to beat Liverpool last week. We just as we were recording, so we missed that one.
Yeah.
But that is what happens with podcasting. I don't think Swansea have it in them. I think there's weird infighting going on still in that squad. They don't have identity or character. I think they got very fortunate to beat some kind of dysfunctional Liverpool side who I don't know what happened to them, and it's yet to be proved what's happened to them. They lost at the weekend in the FA Cup against West Brom, who are a bit of a bogey team for Liverpool, but still, it's not a good trend that their best performance of the season was followed up by 2 awful performances. And Swansea, they're still down at the bottom of the table.
They do love a big win against Arsenal, though.
They do, but not in recent times.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to look at that Swansea team, and really, they didn't beat Liverpool because they were great. They beat Liverpool because Liverpool were awful.
Yeah. Who's going to score goals for Swansea?
I mean,
Swansea's defence is solid, to a point.
They're one of the better defences in the league, I think. Last time I checked, anyway.
Yeah, they have good goalie, and they have good, they have good structure, they have good organisation, which I don't think was lacking under Paul Clement.
No.
But it's just they have no one to score goals.
Well, that's down to the midfield. There's no creativity there. There's
they
no
lost
chances.
Sigerson. That was the biggest loss they had. If they had Sigerson, they'd probably be comfortably up where, not Leicester are, but where, think of different teams that are in 10th, 11th, 12th.
West Ham.
West Ham are, after their rocky start. You could easily see them up there, but they're the foot of the table, or
they're bottom. They're bottom, and West Brom are second last.
Yeah, both of those teams, I don't see them pulling out of that, and I don't see them getting a result over Arsenal, even though they're at home, and Arsenal are, still Arsenal.
Both of those teams beat Liverpool, but Liverpool have a chance now to bounce back away at Huddersfield. And are Huddersfield kind of an ideal opponent for Liverpool at this point?
Well, Jurgen Klopp was the Huddersfield manager's best man at his wedding.
Yeah.
So they do know each other, and you could see when they were... I'm not a Huddersfield fan or anything like it, but you saw when Huddersfield played Liverpool earlier in the season, I wouldn't have liked the manager of my club to be that pally with the manager of the opposition team who'd just beaten them.
Yeah. Also, Huddersfield, the way they played that day, I mean, it was a bit suicidal, really. Yeah. They weren't nearly defensive enough. They tried to take this attacking... Well, the gegenpress that both these managers like, that really high-octane football, that suits Liverpool so well. They're probably the best team in the world at it. You don't.
They're set up to play
exactly.
That,
You don't want to do that against Liverpool.
The thing is, though, they made similar mistakes against Tottenham at home earlier in the season, but then they followed that up by learning from those mistakes and sitting deeper and trying to catch a bigger team out on the break by beating Manchester United. They tried it against Man City again, and obviously Man City were just too good for them. So we could see them try to do something similar against Liverpool again. Well,
do you trust Wagner to go up to his best man, his best friend, 2 men with similar ideologies, and say, you know what, you're better at this, so I'm going to have to, completely give up all of that and just try to beat you?
That's the question.
I think that is a good question, but maybe Wagner will take the pragmatic approach.
I mean, if it means sacrificing, the football he has pride in, I'm not sure if he's willing to do that for a game he's probably going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
He might just go all guns ablaze and say, this is what we do, this is who we are.
Personally, the fact there's been no movement on Huddersfield trying to sign any players, and, it's a long Premier League season, they're going to start dropping, their players are going to start dropping, due to tiredness and injury. It's going to happen. I'm going to worry a bit about Huddersfield. I think between themselves and Brighton are making moves in the transfer market. They're signing backup players. They just signed Choa today. Brighton did. They signed him back from Leicester. Choa from Leicester. They're making signings that are good for the long-term safety of the club this season. Huddersfield aren't doing that. They're relying on Wagner. They're relying on their gegenpress. They're relying on their tactics, out-tacticking other managers. I don't know how long that's going to work for. For whatever you say about a lot of these English managers that are still, they all got the job, Sam Allardyce, Alan Pardew, Roy Hodgson, they do figure things out. It might take them a while, but they do figure things out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that they still keep getting reappointed, and it's not purely because they're English.
Yeah, they are good at doing certain things as managers. And I worry about Huddersfield. I expect them to lose this match. And looking forward into their fixtures, they play well against the big sides, as we said. But they do lose. They played very well against Man City, still lost.
Yeah,
they lost 4-0, I think, to Arsenal earlier in the season.
5-0. Yeah.
5-0 to Arsenal.
Yeah.
They were, I think, it was very close until the 75th minute, and then they just collapsed.
Yeah.
Losing those goals is going to hurt their goal difference, and they're trying so hard against these big teams, and they're not getting anything, hurting themselves then when they play the smaller teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned Brighton. Brighton looked like the perfect example of a championship club that, come up and are well run, know what they're about, know what they're trying to do, know how they're going to survive in the Premier League. And so far, I won't say they're clear of the danger by any means, but they still look better than some of the teams under them.
Yeah. And that's just the way it's going to go, I think, between now and the end of the season. Brighton will prove to be a very good side. And Huddersfield, it can go either way. There is some bad teams in Premier League this season. So
I mean, they have the potential to be that Swansea team that came up under... Was it Martinez who brought them up first?
No, Brendan Rodgers.
Rodgers, right. They have the potential to be that Swansea team, and they've also got the potential to be that Blackpool team.
Yeah.
That were fantastic.
Yeah.
And got relegated, and now League One, I think.
Oh, Blackpool are...
Yeah.
Completely,
That's a complete
League Two, possibly. Exactly.
And then Chelsea on Wednesday night host Bournemouth, who they've got a pretty good record against.
Yeah, Bournemouth don't really have much of a chance in this match. They played well against Arsenal, their last big game outing.
Yeah.
I think they won that match, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was 2-1,
Yeah. I think Chelsea, they're making the signings, they're reeling around the thing. I think this is a nailed on Chelsea victory, just because this is one of those going through the motions Chelsea victories.
Yeah.
They need to keep pace with Manchester United after... Was Chelsea lose the last time out in the Premier League?
Draw with Leicester? Was that the last game? Or the game
We've already
before
forgotten last week. But Chelsea, they dropped points and Manchester United won. So they dropped points on Manchester United. They're still chasing that second place. That's going to keep them motivated. And if there's more players coming in, it might keep a lot of the players, worrying for their place, because a lot of them are very safe. Like, I know there's been a lot of talk about Kante not having any competition in the squad anymore with Matthijs gone and no one realistically going to play instead of him, and him just playing poorly. I don't think that's why he's playing poorly. I think he might just be... They might have been figured out at this point.
I'd say that's one of the bigger problems with Chelsea, that they've got 6 or 7 players who are, at home in a top team, and then they've got a couple of bits and pieces that just don't seem to fit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help that Kante is no competition, but at the same time, I'd say he's not the player that drives the game. He looks better in a team that's playing well.
Yeah.
And Chelsea aren't at the moment, which I think contributes to him looking poor.
Yeah.
He's one of those supporting players in the team. He's not going to look better than the team like Eden Hazard will, who he can look absolutely amazing no matter how bad Chelsea are.
Yeah.
And Chelsea's big problem is a reliance on those key players like Hazard, going forward. Goal. Yeah.
That's just how it is, but I would back them.
Yeah,
I'd still back them to win this. Every game there's a 50% chance of Hazard, creating a goal.
Yeah.
Anyways, never mind that Morata's still a good player. Hasn't been great recently, but good player. Batshuayi's got 2 recently. He might even get a start. If he's very lucky.
If he's not sold by the time the match comes around, which is a distinct possibility.
Absolutely,
because we only have the transfer deadline day is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday
midweek. Thursday or not?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday or at 11.
It's Wednesday. Yeah. Then you've Ross Barkley on the bench. Did you hear Conte's comments after the Arsenal game?
Yeah, awful.
I mean, you don't want to hear that as a new player. You just
what were the comments exactly? Just
so Conte was complaining about Willian, wasn't it, who was injured?
Yeah,
Willian was injured. And Conte said he only had Ross Barkley on the bench to bring on. Yeah, what do you expect when I only have Ross Barkley? This is all I have, this Ross
Barkley character.
I mean, he was making a complaint about the transfers. And I mean, he did go on to mellow out the criticism a little bit. He was explaining that Ross Barkley's only in a week and a half, and he hasn't trained with the team. He hasn't played in ages. He's not used to the team. He's not up to speed with everything.
Was terrible, Ross Barkley.
Yes,
could have been sent off in a couple of minutes.
You can't expect him. Like, there is a point there. You can't expect him to be up to scratch straight away. At the same time, even when he's full of game time, fully fit, focused, ready to go out there, do you think he's going to replace Fabregas? Nah.
No.
He doesn't do what Fabregas does better than him. He doesn't do what Kante does better than him. I don't think he does what Drinkwater does better than him.
No, he's not that type of player. He is, for lack of a better expression, a Steven Gerrard type box-to-box Hollywood moment player. And that does not fit into the Chelsea model in any way. No. They're very functional. They have been since Hazard joined the club. Yeah. Like, Hazard is there. He's the creative force. They'll have someone to counterpoint him in either Willian or Pedro or someone like that. I don't think... whatchamacallum, I've lost his name. Ross Barkley can play out the right wing or can play as a counterpoint to Hazard. He is like a Frank Lampard running into the box, getting on the end of goals, and that's not how Chelsea are playing at the moment. It was a strange signing. Like it was, like Ross Barkley was linked. Oh, he's a high quality player. He's England international. He's played at tournaments. He's very sought after, but he doesn't fit into any top team.
No. And I mean, 4 years ago, Ross Barkley was probably a better player than he is right now. You know, that's when everybody was after him, and it seems. You know, the clubs didn't quite realise, it's 4 years later. He's not this young talent. He's, 25?
I'm not sure.
He's coming up on that now.
He's coming up, He's not. It's not old by any means, but it's not young and promising.
It's too close to his peak.
Yeah. He's peaking in 2 or 3 years now. He can't be expected to get all that much better.
Yeah.
So,
it was a weird signing. Like,
it
was expected because it was like, where else is he going to go? Chelsea's where he's expected to go.
I'd say just because he was cheap enough relative to the market, and he's
English.
Yeah,
he helps them with their quotas.
I think that's ultimately why he was signed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a terrible signing, but Chelsea do need something else. They're far too reliant on Hazard.
If they ever lose Hazard, they're in trouble. Similar to we've spoken, and I know we're about to move on to it, but Harry Kane at Spurs. I don't know if any of you've seen the opposition report that Newport County put out on Spurs. They sent like an opposition scout to the Andrew Villas-Boas character to see Spurs play Southampton, and they butchered the Spurs team. Went through all the weaknesses and all the players in the Spurs team. How Eric Dyer is one-dimensional. He's slow. Eric Mella doesn't even try. He's a liability. Son doesn't do anything off the ball at all. Dele Alli does very little and is actually a very limited player if you actually observe him for long periods of time. And it's wholly reliant on Harry Kane to do something. Yeah. And it's amazing when they put it in black and white facts. Yeah. It actually, you're right. Yeah. And it's kind of what we've been saying for a while, that like Spurs are a ticking time bomb. They, we talk about in different ways that they lost a lot. They lost Kyle Walker at the beginning of the season. Yeah. They could lose Danny Rose pretty soon, and they could have an outset of many players.
Christian Eriksen is injured at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, which isn't helping.
Yeah,
no.
He's pivotal.
He's the other big one I put up there with Kane. He's also a top class player. I mean, apart from that, Spurs.
Yeah, like Lloris was a top class player and probably can be one, but his form has just been so poor for such a long time.
I had a mistake in him as well,
and it's been bad the whole season. It's been bad since late last season, and the defense, they're half getting injured. Yeah, the players like Harry Winks, he's overrated. I think
he's decent. He's
decent, but he's not a Christian Eriksen.
No. He's come from nowhere to all of a sudden be this highly rated player. Like
why is he highly rated? He's never done anything to deserve merit being highly rated. Christian Eriksen played for Spurs for several seasons before he got to.
And that's a trope at Spurs. Dele Alli came from MK Dons. This lad, he's out of nowhere.
Yeah, but he did score those amazing goals.
He's had some amazing highlight reel moments, but he's also had moments where he's completely out of the game when they really need him. And
like that Southampton match, which goes undocumented. Yeah. No one really picked up on Dele Alli and being absent-minded during that match.
Just wait 3 months.
Harry Kane saved them.
Just wait 3 months. He'll be back in form a bit. He'll score another 2 scorchers, and people will be going, "Oh my God, look at how good this guy is." Yeah.
But it showed like Newport got a draw in the FA Cup against Spurs. Yeah. Because they did I'd say their opposition strategist is going to get picked up pretty soon. Yeah. Because he seemed to have nailed everything on the head, gave it back to his manager, and the manager executed the plan. They could have come away with a big cup upset if it wasn't for one Harry Kane.
Yeah, and like they've gone from Newport, now they play Manchester United this week on Wednesday. That's kind of the big match of this week. And
at Wembley, where they still don't have a good record.
And do you know who has a good record at Wembley?
Manchester United.
And Jesse Lingard. He always scores at Wembley. It's this weird.
How many games has he played at Wembley, though? Like 2?
Or for Manchester United, anyway. He scored in his last 3 appearances at Wembley.
Oh my God. So he is informed, by far the most informed player at the club. They've signed Alexis Sanchez, who has had an alright season despite all his troubles at Arsenal.
And he had an alright debut, all things considered.
Well, against
weak opposition.
Who are they playing? Yeovil Town, not the strongest team in the world. But there's players there. There seems to be a relative calmness in that squad. Mourinho hasn't been attacking his players for some time now.
The whole side kind of mellowed out in the last month. They kind of just pick up form again quietly.
Yeah, and there's all this talk of like Mourinho. Like I know if you want to talk about weird fan theories and the conspiracy against Mourinho by the press, there has been very little of that in the last month for people to attack Mourinho on. He has done not that much since the last time there was a scandal at Manchester United.
Yeah, apart from all the little sniping with Antonio Conte.
Apart from that, but
That was
it's
even
been
still,
fair.
that was
That
a couple
feels like
weeks
so
ago.
long
That
ago
was,
now.
yeah,
It was.
yeah.
It was.
I mean, it's what? It couldn't be more than 2 weeks ago.
I'd say it was
Really?
2, maybe 3 weeks ago now.
I mean, yeah, but like
you
since
know,
then, it's
January
been all
rolls
quiet.
on.
Yeah. But in the last week, he signed a contract extension at Manchester United. 2-year extension, I think, or 1 year.
As we just saw about long-term planning of Manchester United, they signed the most short-term manager that there is in Premier League football.
And it looks like they might be getting the longest shelf life out of him out of all the clubs he's been to.
Well, I think
Is it too early? Too early to
it's
say?
too early to say because
Too early.
when the announcement was made, I saw a few posts I saw a few pictures of old news headlines that were like, "Oh, Chelsea delighted to announce contract extension."
Yeah, it's happened
Inter
before.
Milan, Real Madrid,
yeah.
all delighted to announce a new contract extension, and
And
only
the-
for him to leave the following season.
Yeah, it has happened before, and like if you look at the long-term building, he's alienated young players in squad or loaned them out. His top goal scorer last season was 35 last season.
Yeah.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
He didn't even get to 30, I don't think.
No, but he was 35 years
years
old.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you meant goals.
His biggest signing, who's on the most money in the Premier League, I think now. He's on a
Sanchez,
180 million contract over 4 years.
Yeah, it's the most.
Something bizarre like that.
And he's 29 years old.
Yeah.
So, there does not seem to be long-term thinking there. I know they've signed Pogba, they've signed Lukaku, but around them, they're all aging players.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see Mourinho fixing that problem. I think it was a bizarre decision from Ed Woodward. I know he's fearful. I don't know what he's fearful of, the stock market price changing on the shares or something. His job maybe, and he needs to have Mourinho there, even if it doesn't make any sense footballing wise to sign him up in the middle of the season where they haven't had a terrible season like they did last year, but they haven't had a great season either.
But
and
it's still been their best season since Ferguson retired.
Yeah, but
that's not a high bar.
It's not a high bar, but they also have a huge outlay where previous managers didn't have that same outlay.
I mean,
players.
Well, Van Gaal spent a lot of money as well.
Not to the extent that Mourinho has.
Van Gaal spent an awful lot of money, to be fair.
He spent about 250 million with Van Gaal, I think.
Yeah, but Mourinho's only been there a season and a half, and he's equalled that.
No, but it was like 200. It's semantics, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both spent an absolutely extortionate amount of money.
Yeah.
But I think with United, they might actually be able to get away with such a short-term manager because they have that money,
The Real Madrid effect, if
yeah,
you will.
basically, because, they can just go out and say, hey, we need another striker, let's buy Alexis Sanchez.
Yeah.
City were deciding, no, this is too much money for us. Chelsea, got a sniff of it a couple of months back and just said, no, the money's far too much for us.
Yeah.
So,
They're trying to build. The other clubs seem to be trying to build a long-term sustainable platform. Even the Galacticos isn't the right way, but the oil-funded teams in Chelsea and in Man City seem to want to build a long-term project.
Well,
they're both investing heavily in academies. We know Chelsea for years now have won the FA Youth Cup, have loaned out 50-odd players a season. It's probably too much. And Man City have one of the finest academies now in the world. They're certain to feed players to other clubs, even if they're not coming through the first team. Things are happening.
I'd honestly say that Chelsea aren't even in that super rich category anymore. I don't think they can afford to spend the money City and PSG do.
Yeah, because maybe they're already now self-sustainable.
I wouldn't even say that. They're owned by Abramovich. He's worth $6 billion or something.
Yeah.
Completely insane amount of money. But City's owners are sitting on
state.
$100 billion,
It's a country.
and not just that. Chelsea, I think they spent the third most in England behind the two Manchester clubs, but they financed that by selling an awful lot of players.
They're adhering by financial fair
Exactly.
play,
They are.
Man United are, because they have such the largest revenue in the world.
Huge revenue.
City are getting sponsored by Etihad Airways or whatever.
Ridiculous amounts that are probably not right.
They are getting sponsorship money to the tune of however much they need. I think their shirt deal is not the shirt deal. Yeah, the shirt advertising deal is worth something like 3 times Chelsea's.
Yeah,
and it was signed 4 years ago, which is completely insane. At the time, there's no comparison between the clubs. Chelsea have to be a little bit less aggressive with the money than the other two. So really, they can't afford to be as short term as United are being. They have to do it. City are even more dangerous because they don't have to be short term, or they don't have to be long term, but they're doing it, and it's looking kind of successful at the moment.
They seem to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility that we could see a breakaway in that, we had the top 4, then we had the top 5, the top 6, back to being a top 4? do you think there's a possibility that we could expand into a top 2 and just have the 2 Manchester clubs, Man City funded by the petrodollars and their great organisational structure, and Manchester United sponsored by their amazing revenue and world standing, and then cutting everyone else out the way that we already see Liverpool have fallen away, Arsenal have fallen away. Spurs have never really got up to that level quite.
That's what it kind of was when, for Ferguson's last 3 or 4 years, and Mancini was at Manchester City. It was a title race between the 2 Manchester clubs.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You see, but a strict a separation between them, not just based on footballing terms, because clubs have peaks and troughs. But this is just going to be complete separation where, Manchester United can go and spend at Christmas however much, or just give one of their best players to an opposing team.
Yeah.
And it not matter at all, and everyone, we got a good deal out of that. Or City can drop however much they've just dropped on a injury-prone, unlikely to feature hugely in the last 6 months of the season, defender from Spain. Yeah.
I would say that once you get to a certain amount of money, there's diminishing returns, I don't know where that cutoff is exactly. If it's too far above, Chelsea, Arsenal's level of money, then, maybe they will drop behind. But I think it is a bit too early to completely say that those two will pull away. You mentioned Ferguson's last years. Chelsea won the title in 2010. They were second in 2011 and only really fell away in 2012 and 13. So his last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's not quite as big a gap, and then they came back and won it in 2014. I reckon Chelsea have enough money and have enough, long-term planning. They've had a structure. The same board of directors been there for 10 years now. I think they have enough to kind of stay competitive. Maybe there'll be years like this where they're 10, 15 points off, but at the same time there'll be years where they'll be right up there and competitive with those peaks and troughs. I think they're good enough. They'll probably be a little below most of the time, but I think they're good enough to stay in touch. And
revenues and everything.
If revenues, and
TV money stays the same, and they're able to compete on wages with European clubs. Which, at the moment, Premier League is miles ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, and I'd say for that reason, Arsenal, Liverpool also have the potential to do that. I don't think Tottenham do. I don't think they have the money to do that. I don't think they're going to be able to stay in touch unless they keep Harry Kane.
Yeah,
because he's one of the players who can just smash all those money things, all those problems, and just he's a joy to watch at times.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the match on Wednesday, who is going to win this match?
It's in Wembley.
It's on Wembley.
It's in Wembley. I almost think that helps United more.
So are you saying Man United win?
I'll call it 2-1.
I'm going to say it's a draw because Manchester United will play for a draw, and Spurs are Spurs.
Yeah, I think it'll be a draw as well.
Not to dampen everyone's expectations before the big match.
If a team's going to win, okay, I'll go.
Be bold.
I think Man United are more likely to win.
Yeah.
That will do us for part 1. Join us after part 2, where we will discuss VAR. On Saturday evening, a rare late 7:45 kickoff at Anfield saw West Brom dump Liverpool out of the FA Cup at a 3-2 result. So far, this was the best glimpse of VAR being used in England. There were 3 incidents in which it was used. It correctly ruled out a West Brom goal for offside, correctly called a penalty for Liverpool, which Firmino subsequently missed, and was then used to cement the validity of West Brom's third goal. Yet, there was outrage. What did you two make of it?
Well, one, VAR is still not quite being implemented correctly, and everyone's agreement over that it's referees don't know what's going on, there's confusion, they're obviously the players don't know what's going on, so everyone's kind of like, what's going on? Is it VAR? Are we doing this? Is this a goal? Is this not a goal? Is this a penalty? There's delays happening, people are unhappy as a result of this, no one knows how to deal with it, and there isn't enough communication. It lacks some of the polish that there is in other sports that use VAR. And it also has some of the problems that other sports that use VAR have. Like in the NFL, there's still huge issues with using video assessment referee, and they've been using it for years because they send everything off to New York, where the VAR center is for decisions to be made, rather than it being even in the stadium. And this is, affecting the football match, and nobody knows what's going on. Yeah. Personally, I want VAR. I think it's great. It can be great. It can resolve so many situations. before they have to create a conflict or a scandal, or before they really affect a match. If a player think back to Zinedine Zidane in the 2006 World Cup.
Yeah.
If that hadn't been seen by the assistant referee on a big screen, Zidane would have got away with it. No one else saw Zidane headbutt Marco Materazzi in the chest. And he would have got away with it. And that could have changed the complexion of the final. That went to penalties, for God's sake. And Zidane could have easily scored if David Therese game missed. But today, that wouldn't ever have got away. There wouldn't have even been a discussion, that was definitely going to be picked up. Like, these things happen all the time and they're not missed, they're not seen. But VAR would see. Think of, for instance, the Manchester United-Swansea match, I want to say, where it was Lukaku and...
Obong?
And Obong.
Are we talking
Brighton.
Brighton?
Brighton, apologies. Brighton and Obong were clashing in the midfield, or in the box from a set play. And then Man United scored even though Lukaku had thrown the defender to the ground.
Even then, the corner shouldn't have been a corner.
Exactly, but I don't think a corner...
Yeah, that's true.
But this is the problem, and this is what critics of VAR are going to raise, that a corner should never go into it.
Yeah.
But the resulting decision should have gone into VAR, and if that had happened during the Liverpool-West Brom match, it would have probably been reviewed by VAR. Like, I have no problem with a video assistant referee, constantly reviewing everything that's going on as best and letting the referee know, which I know people do have problems with. I don't mind them doing that at all. It's just there has to be correct implementation of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point about looking to other sports is fantastic, because that's, I think, with football, the amount of money in it, the amount of organisation in it, they should be able to come up with the best one in the world, really, And if you look at the NFL, the principle they have there is that when you go to VAR, the call on the field stands unless there's significant evidence proving otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that's a good baseline. You back the referee unless there's clear evidence that he's got it wrong.
Yeah.
And second, if you look at rugby union, the video ref will bring it back if he spots something, completely major that was wrong, or that shouldn't have happened.
Will alert the referee.
Exactly. He'll tell the referee. The referee needs that help, so he doesn't have to call everything all the time. But also, sometimes the referee does have to call something. He sees it. He's not sure. Did that? He got pulled down there. Am I calling that a free? Am I calling or play on?
Yeah.
Those are the times he needs to go to it himself. So there's got to be a sort of balance between the video referee and the referee doing it. And when you do bring up VAR, you've got to see absolutely, 100% something clear to overrule what the referee's already called. Going beyond that, I think that... what was it? I had a point. It'll come to me. I hate this. It'll come to me.
Well, just to jump in, at the moment, VAR, and I agree with you entirely, VAR is not straightforward. It's not standardised. We've had this issue in Germany and in Italy where the referees are running over to recheck decisions on monitors when that shouldn't really be allowed. The VAR has I know in rugby union, as we said, sometimes the ref will look up at the replay given by the assistant referee up on the big screen and then give a decision on it. I don't necessarily agree with that happening in association football. It doesn't really make sense to it, and there isn't always that infrastructure in place in most places.
That's the thing that I noticed, or that's the thing I have noticed most when watching matches where an incident involving VAR has come up. Like it happened for the penalty decision with I think it was Salah, who was tripped up in the box by Gareth Barry.
Yeah.
And Craig Pawson, he was informed in his mic or in his earpiece, there's been an incident in the box. And he went over and went to look at it, and that's why that incident ended up taking 4 minutes to decide.
Yeah.
There needs to be a trust between the person watching it on the screen and the person actually refereeing the match.
I think first there is the major problem with the way that rugby does it looking up at the screen is that those replays are not shown by the video ref, they are shown by the TV company. And when you're talking about Ireland versus England, if it's happening in Ireland, the Irish TV
more
system,
exactly,
they're showing the replays that show the England guy fouling. If it's the Irish lad fouling, they're showing the replays that kind of obscure it. You can't really see. That is a problem.
You don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that replays should be shown up on the screen while VAR involved incident is being reviewed. But I think that I had a point as well.
Well,
Well,
like-
I've lost it.
I understand there is, and a lot of criticism is coming. Oh, no one in the stadium knows what's going on. The journalists don't know what's going on. The fans don't know what's going on.
That's the point I was going to make. Because in rugby, when they're reviewing a try incident, say, for like it's an important moment. If the try is being given, then there's a clear hand signal. He blows the whistle and he puts his hand up, and it indicates that there's been a try. The whole stadium is able to cheer. You can clearly hear the cheering every time. I'm emphasizing the cheering because people seem to really like celebrating. That's one of the arguments I've seen. But then if the try isn't given, the referee does this no action with his hands. You can clearly tell everyone in the stadium knows it's not a try. We need something similar in football.
I've got my point back finally. First, with the whole thing on the showing it on TVs, I still actually would be in favour of it, despite the problems with it. Yeah. I'd say it need to be handled like the replays being shown need to be shown by the video ref. He's the one calling the shots,
which you can't do.
But the thing is, I'd say it has to happen on the replays because of that reason, so everybody knows what's going on, so that there's clarity. Because if the ref's just running off to the side, you're getting the live crowd has 2 or 3 minutes of absolutely nothing happening.
Yeah, I don't agree with, like, my point with it was I don't agree with the referee running off to the side. You should be, like you said, implicit trust between the VAR and the main referee, the match referee. The match referee's decision should stand first and foremost. If it is 100% sure that the match referee is wrong, the VAR should let the match referee, you're 100% wrong. And the referee has to take that on board. And if they don't take that on board, that's their problem. Regarding replays, I don't think it's possible to structure the infrastructure in a way that replays are available on every ground for every decision that could possibly go to VAR in the top flights of European leagues. The reason I say that is because they'll always have that bias from the TV companies who do run it, or the stadium itself who do run the images coming out of the place, saying, we'll just see what the referee sees. The referee's probably working on multiple monitors, putting things down to a slow-mo camera to actually see, was there contact between the boot and the player, or blah, 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 like that, or was there actually a handball in that instant, whatever the VAR decision may be. But I do acknowledge you do need crowd interaction with the situation.
The problem I have, though, then, is then the players can see the incident, and that's, I think, the last thing you want to see.
Yes.
Because in other sports, like rugby, like NFL, there is an intrinsic respect between the players. They know they can't touch the referee. They can't do anything to the referee. They'll have to be polite to the referee at every call. That is not the case in football in any country I've ever seen. They are vile, they are screaming, they are shouting, they are swearing, they are giving out. Everyone is. The managers are, the fans are. There isn't that respect in football that there is in other sports towards referee and officials.
I agree, and
so you need to have a compromise between it, and I think the easiest compromise to do is to actually include the fans, like you said. When in rugby union, when there's a try and there's been a touchdown over the end line, everyone knows if it's given, the ref raises their hand and blows the whistle and everyone cheers. What you do is you build up suspense and you put on the screen does a VAR logo or something this, and it's a VAR, and what is it, and it builds. And if you have a quicker response time, which I'm sure they're working on improving as time goes on, it will improve with technology and with trust. Things will improve. You build up a suspense, and suddenly VAR becomes this is a really exciting part of the match. Ooh, let's look at this. I can't abide by the notion that we're going to give challenges to managers. That is a horrible idea. The refereeing of the match, the officiating of the rules has to stay with the referee. It can't go anywhere else. It's not tennis. It's not cricket. No.
It'll turn into that last minute substitute. You use it to waste time at the end. And I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. And coming back to the point I'd forgotten earlier, I think a brilliant introduction that we could take from rugby is miking up the referees. Because, all right, it doesn't work for the fans in the stadium, but the fans at home finally get to hear what's going on. You hear
it would be wonderful, but they did it once in a 1991 documentary.
I watched this as well, I think,
where they mic'd up. It was Arsenal against. I don't remember who Arsenal were playing, but it was definitely Arsenal.
Yeah, I remember.
Because this was the time of the rock solid Arsenal defence with Tony Adams, Steve Bowl, Lee Dixon, Nigel Winterburn, and they were vile people to the referee that day. And there was a lot of swearing and a lot of aggression directed directly towards the referee, and the referee absorbed all that. And I don't think football would have the same homely appeal if you saw what the players were doing every week. And I understand that if we did it, the players would soon learn to behave.
I just don't see it
as well. I would love it as well, but I don't think
even
they'll do
in this West Brom Liverpool match, there was a point where Chris Brunt said something. I wasn't paying full attention. I didn't hear it. But whoever the BT Sport commentator was like, "Oh, apologies if you heard or were offended by any of Chris Brunt's words picked up by the mics there." Like,
yeah, you have to be so careful.
Yeah, no, and I do see that. But I mean, if refs started giving yellows for swearing, like it says they should in the rules, that would go away really quickly. Yeah. You know, if they gave them yellows for surrounding the ref, there'd be a lot less of that too. You know,
all this should happen.
That's what it, like. You know, if you want to do VAR, you want to do it right. I think that's part of it. You know, getting the yellows for dissent, getting the yellows for swearing, getting the yellows for surrounding the referee. It'll help, you know, get more respect for the referee, clean up the game a bit. And I think Mike and the rest would help too. It shows that they're accountable. It shows you can hear when there's a VAR incident coming in. So if you're sitting at home, it doesn't help the fans in the stadium. But if you're sitting at home, you actually know what's going on.
There's a transparency.
There is, yeah. And I mean, it works so well in rugby union. And you get a sense of character from the refs.
It works not just rugby union, it works well in NFL.
Yeah,
it works well like in most US sports that have applied like video technology to officiating. It does work well.
Yeah.
It is having teething problems. In Germany, they do it for offside calls, and it's not worked. They've had issues with drawing the line straight for offside decisions. Yeah. You know, it's not yet at the perfect stage, but like the way people are talking at the moment, and they've been talking for a few weeks since this was first introduced in England, right at the turn of the year, it's as if they've ruined the game, and this will all be thrown out because it clearly doesn't work. Like you said at the beginning of this whole piece, there were no decisions that were incorrect in that.
Yeah,
it just took time. Yeah.
The only problem I had with the implementation of it in this match was the checking of the third West Brom goal, because that goal had no reason. Like there was nothing that appeared wrong with it.
Yeah,
and there was about a minute and a half of them.
It was the referees second guessing themselves.
Yeah, and that
which shouldn't really be permitted.
Yeah, and that absolutely is a problem in rugby too. There's too many stoppages. There's times where you go, that was fine, that was all fine, and the ref stopped it. But just to go back to my last point again, I'm miking up the refs. You get a sense of the personality and what they'll let go and what they won't. Yeah. It'll help ease out that frustration at the inconsistency in calls. The referee will go, no, he only, you know, it was rough, but it wasn't a foul. You know, the other ref will go, absolutely too much contact, that's a foul. Yeah. You'll get to know the refs, you know. You'll know that this ref does this and this ref lets the game go a little more. And it'll help going into it. It'll help for the fans. It'll help. The managers, I'm sure, already know this. I'm sure there's some scout whose job it is to say, this referee is strict, so we keep it, you know.
Yeah,
I'm sure the managers and the teams know it. But for the fans, it would be fantastic. We've talked about this before, the frustration and inconsistencies, and it would really help ease a lot of that out, I think.
Oh, it would. I absolutely agree. It would, of course, have like issues going from country to country in international tournaments and different leagues around Europe who have players who don't speak the native language in that country. You can imagine many in Spain or Italy or England or Germany who don't have the local language, not being able to communicate with the referee, and things getting very complicated. And, you know, communication issues would come to the fore a lot more than they do at the moment. But you would learn so much more about every aspect of the game. Like, imagine, say, if you take it from the point that a lot of pundits in England and in other countries as well, it's not just exclusive to the UK, believe that only if you play the game to a certain level can you really understand the game, or can you comment on the game at this certain stage. The amount of knowledge you would glean and understand from a match, from how it's played, from how things interact, by simply being on the pitch. It's inevitable it's going to happen. You're right, like we're eventually going to have body cams on the referees to see exactly what the referee sees. It's happened in rugby already, it's happened in NFL. This is what's going to happen. It's just a case of getting the technology right, and bit by bit it'll be introduced. It probably won't be the first thing, and probably going to be one of the last things they do.
Yeah, no, and you're right. You don't want to run before you can crawl, and like we have to sort out VAR, we have to sort out the teething problems here before we go on.
They
and
still
do
don't
that.
have the goal line technology in this La Liga. Like
and I mean
it's happened multiple times this season alone.
I really don't think anybody in England complains about the goal line technology. That's been a fantastic addition.
Like 2 seconds.
And it's
there was an issue like how do we know the ball? Like I remember Jonathan Pearce was the World Cup going apoplectic when how do we know the ball's crossed the line, and challenging the technology. But the technology is there to be challenged. It's fair enough. Challenge the technology and let the technology either be shown out for being inferior, or let it improve and grow, and we actually get progress in the game. If we do nothing, the game will go nowhere.
Yeah, and like one argument that's always kind of been brought up is like, oh, mistakes are part of the game. But of course mistakes have been part of the game because the technology hasn't been there to cut them out for the last 140 years or whatever. But now the technology is available. Why don't we use it?
Yeah.
And mistakes will still be part of the game, even with all that technology. In the
NFL,
there's
still conjecture. There's still opinion.
I mean, in the NFL, there's still different definitions of a catch. It's possibly the most basic thing in that sport. And they can't agree on it all the time. You're never going to have complete agreements. There's always going to be mistakes, but it'll ease out the more irritating ones.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you still remember this, but Chelsea played United one year. Chicharito scored a goal. He was offside. He was in the goals when the cross came in. He was behind the keeper, As a younger fan, I was screaming my head off. I was going, "How unfair is that?"
Well, every fan of every club who's ever watched or who has any support of anything has one of these stories.
Yeah, exactly. And these
we can all remember Thierry Henry's handballs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are the mistakes that really hurt, and those are the ones that go away.
And you can see within 2 seconds, it's replayed 100 times. We have the technology, even as long as it's professional football. There is modern technology. We can have cameras. Everyone has cameras in their pocket. You can have cameras everywhere on the pitch. It can be watched by someone else. In a lot of games at higher level across Europe the last few years, they've had 5 officials because they've had the officials behind the goals. There's labour there to do the job. They can be trained. The technology's there. It's not that expensive. It's all doable.
Yeah.
That will do us for our discussion on VAR. I think. I hope we see VAR. It's that's
one or the other.
That's
the next
debate.
thing. Yeah, that's the next thing.
We'll see how it goes in the. I assume it'll be there for the Carabao Cup final and then the next round of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Join us after the break where we will do another Guess the Player. Close the show out now with Guess the Player, where I give my 2 co-hosts a mystery player to try and figure out through a list of teammates that this player played with throughout their career. So are you guys ready?
Shoot.
The players that this guy has played with is Roberto Baggio, Jaap Stam, Francesco Totti, Nicolas Anelka, Frank Lampard, Matteo Darmian, Andrei Shevchenko.
Okay, so Lampard was only West Ham, Chelsea, and England.
And Man City.
Oh,
and New York City. I know who it is, I think.
Already?
I think I know who it is. So I'll let you try and...
Give me a little bit of a chance.
Okay,
So we have Baggio.
Yeah.
Shevchenko, Lampard. Who are the other names?
Jaap Stam was in there.
Jaap Stam.
Nicolas Anelka.
Totti. Totti's only played for Roma in Italy.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Yes, that's right. Stop making me second guess myself. So I'm going to assume he was Italian, seeing the other Italian names in there, like Baggio. Anelka played at Juve for a little bit. He did, didn't he?
I do not remember. Anelka's the one that's thrown me off, my guess.
Okay.
Where did Anelka play?
Anelka's played at a bunch of clubs.
He's played at so many.
I don't know where Anelka.
Okay, Anelka's played literally everywhere. So
has he played in Italy?
That
is the question.
He's also played at Chelsea at the same period that Lampard was there. Was he there at the same time as Shevchenko? When did Shevchenko leave?
No, I don't think they overlapped.
They might have, Anelka came in, 08, 09?
Yeah.
Shevchenko was bought in 05. Did he leave in 07 or 08?
I think it was 08. I think he had a couple seasons.
Yeah, I think he might have.
Give us another clue there, because
he scored 13 times in 116 appearances for his country.
Yeah, I definitely know who it is.
116. Okay. I'm still lagging a little bit behind now.
Give him another one.
Okay, another clue. He made his first league appearance in 1995, but only announced his retirement in 2017.
Oh, is
you
it
don't
Buffon?
Get it from.
No, of course not. He scored goals.
Wait, what was the name?
Buffon. I said Buffon. He's also announced his retirement at the end of the season.
He wrote one of the finest books on football ever written.
Yeah, Andrew's got it.
I'm feeling bad now.
He played with Roberto Baggio under Carlo Ancelotti.
Do you want another one of my clues?
Lord above, yeah.
He won 6 Serie A titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and a World Cup.
That should narrow it down a bit.
It should, really. Okay, so I'm looking for an Italian Serie A, multiple Serie A winner.
Who did he play with Nicolas Anelka with?
He played with Nick. I'll tell you once.
Was it at Chelsea?
No.
Am I right? No. Did he play at Chelsea?
No.
No, that's what's throwing me off then. How did he play with Lampard? City? Or the MLS? Oh, it's Pirlo.
It is.
It
Pirlo.
is.
Well done.
Andrea Pirlo.
Ah, that took me too long.
He played with Anelka at Juventus.
Hey!
You were right.
Oh.
Anelka did
was
go to
back in
Juventus.
98, 99
No, he
or something.
played with him. He went there for after he came back from China.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Whew.
For half a season.
Yeah, it was a brief.
I was
stage.
right for the completely wrong reasons then.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had one more clue. It was he believes the PlayStation is the greatest invention since the wheel.
Yes.
Which is a reference to the book that
He also
Andrew
believes
mentioned.
that God isn't French.
Yeah, one
That
of
was the other thing.
I'm starting to think I have to read this book.
Oh, it's a fantastic
we
book.
discussed this book.
We've discussed it before.
a
amazing
good few
quotes.
episodes ago. Yeah, I when I was making this, there were so many players that I really wanted to put in, but
Frank Lampard gave it away for me because he played with Frank Lampard in New York City.
Yeah.
I had a few other players. It was Diego Simeone, David Villa, Nicholas Bentner, and Mikel Silvestre.
Nicholas Bentner would have been a good one.
Where did Nicholas Bentner play?
At
Juventus.
Bentner was at Juventus as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, same time roughly. I think.
Yeah,
Anelka.
and then he went back to Sunderland.
Yeah. I thought Mikel Silvestre would have been a good one to throw.
That would have been a good one as well.
Yeah, but maybe we'll do something more with Mikel Silvestre.
The future, yeah.
Wait. Did Yapstam play at Juventus?
AC Milan.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, there was because he played with all three of the big
Yeah.
teams in Italy, and I thought throwing in Totti might throw it off because he only played for Roma.
Roma and Italy.
And I thought Darmian might throw it off,
Darmian.
but
Italy.
No, he was at AC Milan
As
well.
well,
really?
at the same time.
Yeah,
God, Darmian. How old is Darmian?
Darmian's not that old, but he had a couple caps at a really young age.
Okay.
That will do us for another edition of the Total Football Podcast. I've lost my.
You've lost your life.
Yeah,
That's what you've lost.
I've lost what I was supposed to look at. Make sure we didn't leave off anything.
Ooh, you have to improv now.
Come on, you can do it.
No,
you can do
Don't
it.
worry, don't worry.
I've got it back.
Just imagine we've holes in our left sock. Isn't that what you're meant to do? You speak in front of people. Imagine everybody has a hole in their left sock.
Okay, I've never heard that before.
I've absolutely never.
That is very strange.
Go on, see does it work. See does it work.
We have the title for the episode.
Oh, aren't you glad that he lost this script so he could go on for this little 2-minute section?
Yeah. I hope
I have
you're
it
enjoying
back.
this.
I have it back. But thank you for listening, and please get in touch. I just need to know what the email was again. Email us at thetfpod@gmail.com.
He's gone. He's completely lost it. You can follow us on social media at the TF Pod.
If you have any other strange...
Oh, he's gone. He's completely lost it. I don't know what is so bad about this.
If you have any other strange idioms, I'm open for suggestions.
Phrasing, you know? It's very hard to live without idioms.
Ooh.
Oh, I've just never heard that. Follow us on Twitter at the TF Pod.
Yes, we said that. We're repeating things. No, I said it.
Oh, all right.
He's completely lost it. He's lost it now.
I think I'm going to make a break like this every podcast from now
please
on.
bring an idiom next week. That would
That would really help things move
spice
along.
up the show at the end. Follow Andrew on Twitter at comma27.
I have loads of idioms.
Follow me on Twitter at Cheesy Harpo. I have no idioms. I'm sorry. Spread the word about the show. If you have any friends that love idioms,
Bring them along.
Next week it'll be an idiom-based podcast.
It will, entirely. We'll try and do the whole thing in verse.
So until next time, Andrew, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Andrew, Matthijs, any other idioms?
I think I'll save him for the next
A
week.
stitch in time saves 9.
Oh yeah, we've really proven that one with this idiom exchange. Until next week, it is goodbye from me.